Hi! Last week we talked about using variables. We talked about storing data inside of them and then using them throughout our program to represent a number. Or in this case, a number which changes on this line. But anyway, it's used to store data, and until we change that data, it will always be the same. This week, we're going to try some new math. So pretend that you have a recipe and that you're making brown sugar cookies, my favorite kind of cookies, and that for some reason you have decided that you're going to have this recipe. I don't know why you would do that, because you always want more brown sugar cookies. It calls for 3 3/4 cup of flour. How in the world are you going to have that? Well, since you are a nerd, you decide to write a C++ program to decide how much flour you need. In our program, we will want to have a variable called cups of flour that will hold the original value of 3.75, and then we're going to have another value called cups of flour halved that will hold the other value, the result of having cups of flour. So start with a blank project, and then we're going to add int cups of flour equals and 3.75 semicolon int cups of flour halved equals cups of flour times 0.5. And then we're going to display the result, cups of flour halved. So we do std cout, angle brackets, cups of flour halved, angle brackets, and then we add an end line. And this program should work, right? It all looks spiffy to me. But no! There is a problem. It says int. Now, what is the problem with int? Well, what does int mean anyway? Int is short for integer, aka a whole number. These are all integers. -10, -4, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are all integers. 1 is an integer. 367 is an integer. 1.5 is not an integer. The letter D is also not an integer. A cat is also not an integer. So, the problem in our program is that I think that arrow got misplaced. Sorry. It's supposed to be pointing to 3.75. Anyway, 3.75 is not an integer. And we made a box called flour of integer type. So it cannot fit. 3.75 is not going to fit into flour. What does work is, as you can already see, float. What does float mean? Float is short for floating point number. The key here is point. Floats have decimal points and numbers after the decimal point. So, for example, 0.5 is a float, 2.23 is a float, 3.14159 is a float, etc. So basically, you can think of int and float as different kinds of boxes, imaginary boxes inside your computer. Int is one kind of box, and it can fit whole numbers. Float is a different kind of box. It has a section for whole number, and it has a section for what comes after the decimal point. So you have to use them separately. Going back to our program, we will change what used to say int cups of flour to float cups of flour. And then we'll change the next line to say float as well. Float cups of flour halved equals cups of flour times. So take this, copy it. It is in the description. Paste it into the compiler that we've been using. Save that. Compile it. If you have an error, post your error in the comment. Run your program, and we see our answer is 1.875. Now, how to interpret that into the flour cup measurements that you own, I do not know. But at least you know that it is 1.875 cups of flour. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. Bye!